Well, my involvement in the entertainment industry goes back to some of the early stages of my career in accounting and finance. I always wanted to do entertainment accounting when I lived in Atlanta, Georgia. But during the time that I lived in Atlanta, the industry was primarily commercial and industrial. It wasn't as much television and film outside of the ad agencies and Turner advertising, and Turner was expanding into having a 24-hour TV station. But over time, that grew and changed. Back in the late 80s, Bobby Brown moved to Atlanta, Georgia, and after that happened, LaFace Records was formed. They moved in, and quite a few clients that I worked in the accounting practice that I had, I ended up being able to do accounting and tax returns for clients that were involved in working at nightclubs, actors that were needing their budgets done, needing their taxes done. I eventually met a casting director by the name of Sylvia Mays. Sylvia had quite a few tax returns that hadn't been done that needed to be done, and that really helped me to accelerate my accounting practice into entertainment and film, and ended up meeting a DJ called Easy Lee. He used to be the DJ for a guy named Kool Moe Dee. He's mentioned in a song called The Wild Wild West. DJ Easy Lee from around the way. And Lee and I met. He lived in Lithia Springs at the time, and a lot of the artists that I ended up eventually working with, like the young ladies that were in Escape, through my involvement with working with these record producers, writers, and ended up working with quite a few actors and actresses. Eventually, in the early to mid '90s, worked with groups like Outkast and Organized Noise. One of the things that business owners need to realize, and what I was told early on when I was in the entertainment business, is very important to be as good or better than the artists you represent. And at the time, I had somewhat limited resources, so I think that the resources I had early on with the artists I worked with kind of limited my growth in the industry when I was in my 30s. Back during that time, I was in my early 30s. So I actually transitioned out of full-time involvement in the entertainment industry. But the things that I got involved with and learned when I was doing accounting, finance, and business management really helped me in my career. I transitioned out of the entertainment industry in the mid 90s and went into manufacturing, and then I ended up getting involved in real estate finance. And the background that I gained from working with all of those recording artists that were very successful in Atlanta in the early to mid 90s really helped me build skills, especially with contracts and how those contracts mesh with the financial part of their careers, setting up their businesses. And eventually I transitioned into a real estate finance role in cash management for a company that had helped a lot of people that needed to get help with their loans through the Resolution Trust Corporation, selling those loans. So I got involved in looking at financial analysis, eventually doing cash management for some very large deals. And I asked the hiring supervisor that hired me for this role, why did he pick me for a senior level role in cash management? He said, your background in the entertainment industry, working with complicated contracts for record labels, royalty contracts, setting up companies for the artists that needed to set up a company for the first time. Most of the artists I worked with back during that time had probably worked a part-time job, maybe in fast food, and maybe they made $3,000 to $5,000, and then the next year here they are with a $100,000 royalty check. So, and the label would require them to set up a bank account, get a federal ID number, and they didn't know anything about those type of things. So as a result of me having that experience, it was the same thing with the real estate finance. It was setting up a bank account, handling the contracts, understanding the contracts, loan agreements, prospectuses, working with major companies like Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan, Credit Suisse. So all of that was complicated. But what was interesting is, although those contracts were complex, for me they were easy because I'd done some very difficult contracts. I had to keep up with the compliance and make sure that the things that we were doing for the clients were being done, and also working with the lawyers to make sure that the record labels were in compliance. There were several times when myself and Tahira would review contracts, work with the attorney to make sure they had the foundation to negotiate those contracts on behalf of our clients so they could get a more optimal contract. You can't always negotiate and get everything, but it should be a win-win situation for the artist, for the talent, as well as for the motion picture company or for the record label. So that's the ideal scenario. After a few years in real estate finance, and Tahira and I had actually met as I was transitioning out of full-time involvement in the music industry, and we merged our companies together. At the time, she owned a company called Talent Express. We started a company together called 316 East Productions and Publishing, working with songwriters and producers that were looking to expand their work. And that went really well, if nothing else, but to build and solidify relationships in Atlanta. After about 4 years in real estate finance, I got recruited to come to work for South Trust Bank in Birmingham, Alabama, and that's how we got to Birmingham. And we loved Birmingham, fell in love with it. What we did find, though, after moving here was that the industry that had really grown in Atlanta and really exploded from the time we've been in Birmingham from 2001 up to today was not as prevalent in Birmingham, although there have been some successful recording artists from here. We did not find that there were as many opportunities for Tahira. So in 2006, she wrote her book, Annihilative Innocence, and we published that book through a new publishing company called Tavani Raw Publishing. And then in 2008, we formed Indian Creek Management. Indian Creek Management was really formed to manage Tahira's career as an artist, but we ended up signing another author to her company, to Tavani Raw Publishing, as well as to Indian Creek Management, published his book. So Hunger Pains in Our Heads was a book that was about the civil rights movement in the 60s, and how in Greensboro, North Carolina, how the students took leadership there. So Tahira Monique Brown, Mansell Philip McCleve, those were two artists that were signed to Indian Creek Management and to Tavani Raw Publishing. In 2011, Tahira really desired to get back involved into the film industry. She had done quite a bit of speaking engagements and working with other authors and mentoring a lot of people, but she really, her heart and soul lied in writing and songwriting, writing and screenplay writing. And so when Doctors Like Film was formed, it was formed to get her back into that through the Living True and Truly Living television show. And then eventually in 2013, with moving forward with turning her book project into a movie project, so adapting Annihilative Innocence into a book. So fast forward to today, and the Prayer movie is based on Annihilative Innocence, and the screenplay that Darkness Light Films is helping to produce, that takes a portion of the Annihilative Innocence book and adapting it for a film, for a movie project. So we're in development on that, getting close to pre-production. We just finished filming another trailer. There's been a book trailer as well as a trailer of one scene from the movie, kind of a dream sequence. And now the trailer that was just shot is really for Tahira and her team to use to take to the American film market, as well as to attach talent and sales agents and distribution companies to the project. So we're excited about that. But my career in Birmingham now is Vice President of Business Development for the Birmingham Business Alliance, and in that role work with quite a few companies. And I have to say that throughout my career, whether it's in accounting and finance, manufacturing, in hospitality, working in franchise, accounting, working for different opportunities I've had, like to serve as a financial analyst and a controller for different organizations. That background, plus the background I picked up in real estate finance and in business management, really has equipped me well to work with companies all over the Birmingham region, and even sometimes companies in other parts of Alabama, and mentoring others that may need help. Sometimes through social media, people may see that I'm active sharing articles that kind of match up with my experience, but finding articles that are relevant for somebody that's trying to start and grow a business. And then my background in Fortune 500 companies has really been strong, especially on the finance side, but definitely with operations as well. And all of those areas, we have, from our family investments, we've invested tens of thousands of dollars into Dr. Slight Films and Tabana Publishing to get those companies off the ground and make them relevant. And as Tahira and her team look to work with investors and others to get them involved in the company, we felt it important that we made investment ourselves. And I think for anyone that's starting a company, regardless of whether it's in the entertainment industry, whether it's in real estate, construction, in manufacturing, financial services, whatever the industry sectors are in the city that you live in, it's very important that as business owners that you balance that investment that you place in your company with the revenue that can come in from properly operating the company. And certainly you want to make sure that your investors get a return on their investment. And that's what really finance is all about. Anything that you see as you study, as you look at the financial feasibility of a project, regardless of what project that industry is in, whether it's in the movie industry, music industry, if it's in auto manufacturing, automotive industry, especially in automotive where the margins tend to be very, very thin, it's very important to sharpen your pencil and understand where that project cost is going, how those monies are being spent, and always be in a position to explain to investors how they're going to get their money back. This isn't charity. What we're doing isn't charity. What any business owner does isn't charity. What I do every day as I work with companies is make sure that as they are pursuing their goals and objectives, that their business model is sound, that it is sound enough to where they can explain it to anyone, whether it takes 30 seconds, a minute, or 3 minutes. It's important for the business owner to understand, what their company is all about. And that's something that I've tried to help Tahira do as she leads her company. And it's really a blessing. It's been fortunate for me to be able to come alongside her, not only as her husband, but as her manager and business partner, kind of staying for the most part behind the scenes. You seldom see me on the camera like this, but I'm just happy to have this opportunity to just share a little bit about my story and my love and passion for the movie business and the music business, and how much being involved in the entertainment business has really been a foundation that's helped me become a better person over the years. It didn't happen overnight. Probably wasn't the perfect business owner when I was in my 30s, but I think that from all the lessons I've learned and all the mistakes I've made and the challenges I've had has really helped me to become a better business person and a great advisor and a mentor to many people, and certainly to the team at Dr. Slight Films and Indian Creek Management.